Looks like we have those issues resolved.
That was quick.
Yeah, it is pretty short. Right, because we worked on it.
Yeah, and make sure people know we're ready to pick up where we left off.
Okay, so we have access to people calling in via Zoom at this point, audio and video, or just video, or just audio? Yes,
It should-
perfect,
It
great.
should be working normally. They can hear you
Thank
now.
you so much. Okay, we're going to call this meeting back to order. Thank you to TSD for your hard work and getting us organized. We will pick up where we left off on the agenda with department updates. We have Kendra Mood from the Health Department joining us.
Good morning. It won't let me turn my video on, but can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. I have a few updates for you today. At the Health Department, we still have free at-home COVID tests. Members of the public can walk in to pick those up anytime, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The CDC still has Monroe County listed at a medium community level for COVID. And the public health clinic located at 333 East Miller Drive has vaccines available for all ages. Call 812-353-3244 for more information and to schedule an appointment. They also have at-home COVID tests. You can walk in and pick those up during business hours, which are Monday 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Tuesday 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., and then they are open on the second Saturday of each month from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. IU Health Positive Link on Miller Drive is hosting a monkeypox vaccination clinic for high-risk population on Tuesdays from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. High-risk population includes those who are known close contacts, those who are immunocompromised, or those living with HIV. Please call 812-353-3219 for more information and to schedule an appointment for that. And that's all I have today.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Mood. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I know we're all waiting to see what happens with the next round of boosters for COVID. Obviously, we're waiting on some decisions to be made at the federal level. So hopefully those will be available soon.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Any other departments have an update for us? Raise your hand on the Zoom screen. Okay, seeing none, we do have some proclamations today, and we'll begin with Commissioner Jones.
A proclamation about Recovery Month. Recovery Month is a national observance held every September to educate Americans that treatment and services can enable those with mental health and substance use disorders to live healthy and rewarding lives. Now, in its 33rd year, Recovery Month celebrates the gains made by those living in recovery. Employment can play a key role in recovery, and supported employment services offer new gateways to empowerment and recovery for people across the United States. Medication-assisted treatment is effective and can be integrated into both treatment and recovery support settings to help people in their recovery. MAT services can be integrated into clinical settings, the criminal justice system, recovery housing, and peer recovery support systems.
Whereas Monroe County takes great pride in being a member of the STRIDE Coalition, providing the space for the STRIDE Center, an alternative to incarceration for those in crisis. Recovery Month celebrates the gains made by those in recovery, just as we celebrate improvements made by those who are managing other health conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, asthma, and heart disease.
Recovery is different for each person. For some, it is abstinence. For some, it is harm reduction. And for others, it is living through each day. We seek to end the stigma attached to mental health challenges and substance use disorders, with the goal of making it easier for people to come forward when they are ready. We firmly believe that recovery is possible for everyone, every person, every family, and every community. Now, therefore, we, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, proclaim September 2022 as Recovery Month in Monroe County. Proclaim this 31st day of August 2022. And I would like to add, if I could, that today is Overdose Awareness Day all across the nation. And in the 12 months that ended in April of 2021, there had been over 100,000 drug overdose deaths. And in 2018 in Monroe County, we had 26 overdose deaths. By 2021, that number had risen to 54, which is more than double what it had been just 3 years before. And what we're seeing on the street is a mixture of a synthetic opioid, primarily fentanyl, with a psychostimulant that is methamphetamine. And it's very, very powerful. It's causing a lot of problems for many individuals. So
Thank you so much. And thank you. And we have the event on Friday as well.
we have Paint the Town Purple this Friday at 7 p.m. I'm sorry, from 5 to 7 p.m. here on the courthouse lawn. It's a joint event with multiple entities around town. We'll have some games, we'll have food trucks. So please join us. It's a free event in celebration of recovery.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your work on organizing that, your work on SUDAC, and all of the members of SUDAC committee for their work all year round. Commissioner Jones, we have another.
Yes, this is a proclamation for Women's Equality Week. Whereas on August 26, 1920, after decades of organizing, agitating, and demonstrating, the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified, extending the vote to women and advancing our nation's long journey toward full equity for all Americans. In 1971, Representative Bella Abzug introduced a successful bill designating August 26th of each year as Women's Equality Day. Women's Equality Day is a symbol of women's continued fight for equal rights.
Today, women make up the majority of the electorate, yet across the country, women are still underrepresented in the legislative, judicial, and administrative branches of government. In corporate America, they are still underrepresented in senior management positions and on corporate boards.
Even with the Equal Pay Act of 1963 and the passage of the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act in 2009, nationally, women on average are paid only 82 cents for every dollar paid to men. In Indiana, women only earn 80 cents for every dollar paid to men. The pay gap is even worse for women of color. As we honor the pioneers of women's equality and reflect on the progress that has been made, we renew our commitment to securing equal rights, freedoms, and opportunities for women everywhere. Now therefore, we, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, proclaim the week of September 4th through 10th, 2022 as Women's Equality Week in Monroe County. Proclaim this 31st day of August, 2022.
Right, thank you so much. And in honor of both recovery or proclamations regarding recovery and women's equality, we're wearing purple today. It's interesting that the color works for both. All right, thank you so much. And next we will move on to public comment. This section of the agenda is dedicated to public comment for items that are not on our agenda. Anyone who wishes to speak should raise their hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium in the Nat U Hill room. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item. Item 5, please.
I move approval of the minutes from August 17th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I sent a minor edit. Anyone else have corrections? You haven't sent yet? Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes for August 17th, 2022 signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Move approval of the claims docket, accounts payable August 31st, 2022, and payroll for August 26th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have Mr. Miller joining us to tell us all about it. Good morning.
Good morning. The total for claims was $3,364,615.65. There were 4 items found in the claims docket that exceeded $100,000 that I'll touch on this morning, starting with $1,641,156.85 for Monroe County Treasurer, which was Council Ordinance 2021-50, abolishing Fund 4903 and transferring cash to Fund 1000, which is the County General, followed by $553,041.30 for Fall 2022 Riverboat Revenue Distribution to Entities for 2023. $162,572.72 was for E&B paving for Cars Farm Trail Phase 2, as well as Blacktop. And finally, $135,737.47 was for Anthem for August claims primarily. I will note that that total was inclusive of some emergency claims that were received a little bit after the main docket was received. As far as payroll is concerned, the total was $1,746,160.07. Approximately 70.4% were for the direct payroll costs, and the remaining 29.6% were for the indirect costs of payroll.
All right, thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Is there any public comment on this item? Either raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium in the Nat U Hill room. Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the claims docket, accounts payable August 31st, 2022, and payroll August 26th, 2022, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. I will note for the record that we have received a report from the clerk of the circuit court for July of 2022. And now we will move on to new business, please.
Move approval of Choose Premier Painting LLC Fund Name Election Fund Number 1215 in an amount of $6,700.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have Richard Kreider joining us, who is our Fleet and Facilities Manager.
Good
Good
morning,
morning.
Commissioners. Richard Kreider, Fleet and Facilities Manager. We are working to get the election operations building ready for the folks at voters registration to occupy in October. I'd like to get the interior walls painted, and I'm requesting that you approve the estimate submitted by Choose Premier Painting to paint the walls for the amount of $6,700.
All right, thank you. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
No, but I'm sure that the workers will be pleased to have this taken care of.
Have a look a lot nicer.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, that building can use a little bit of beautifying.
Yeah.
This will help quite a bit.
Thank you for bringing this forward. Is there any public comment on this item? Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Seeing none, we'll come back for a vote. All those in favor of approving the Choose Premier Painting LLC contract signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Move approval of Rec Desk Service Agreement Renewal, Fund Name, County General and Cumulative Capital, Fund Number 1000, which is 2000 from the Monroe County Parks and Recreation Fund, and 1138, or 4,800, sorry, from TSD for a total amount of $6,800.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we have Ms. Whitmer joining us. Good morning.
Thank you. Rec Desk is very important to us as our management software for facility reservations, program registration, scheduling, reporting, and invoicing. We're working with TSD on this project. Other than that, it's self-explanatory.
Thank you. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
No, I heard about this at the most recent Parks Rec Board meeting, so.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
No comments here. Thank you for bringing this forward. And let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium in Nat U Hill. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the Rec Desk Service Agreement Renewal signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of JCL Aerial Services Agreement, Fund Name, County General, Fund Number 1000-30500-0803 in an amount of $1,797.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please tell us all about this.
This is a park tour drone videos that we're doing for marketing, and we'll be also putting them on our website. It's for Cars Farm Park, Will Detmer Park, and Cars Farm Greenway. We're very excited about this project.
Right. Comments, questions? Commissioner Githens?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
I think this is a wonderful idea, and hopefully a lot of people will see it.
We have a lot of out-of-town folks who call and they want to see what they're going to be hiking, and people that are not familiar with it, then they can see if they would like which trail and what distance they would like to walk.
Very nice.
Very nice. So these are fully edited videos once they're
Yes.
submitted. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the JCL Aerial Services Agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
Move approval of Stediger Construction Service Agreement for Trailhead at Karst Farm. Karst Farm Park or Karst Farm, okay. Fund named Non-Reverting Parks, Fund Number 1179 in an amount of $28,500.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second.
On the agenda item, I misused the term paid by and I should have put funded by.
Mhm.
Monroe County Parks and Recreation Foundation received a $50,000 Duke Energy Foundation grant for Cars Farm Greenway trail amenities. And in part, they gave it to us because we did win the Next Level Trails grant. And they wanted to make sure that we had enough benches and items that the public could use. This particular item is a trailhead at Cars Farm Park to start, and it'll have all kinds of good things like bike repair stations, umbrella, a drinking fountain, picnic table, bench, all the good things that you want. The park board will pay $10,918 eventually after the reimbursement, and Duke Energy Foundation will pop in $17,582.
Thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens,
No.
Commissioner Jones?
No, this is a nice amenity. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, it sounds great. What a wonderful idea, and thanks to Duke for this. Don't hear me say that often. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium at Nat U Hill. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the Snedeker Construction Service Agreement for the trailhead at Carson Farm Park signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Next item, please.
Move approval of Scheit and Company Inc. appraisal for Fullerton Pike property. Fund name and number to be determined in an amount of $2,600.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Cockrell.
Yes, this is for the second appraisal for the Fullerton Pike property. This company has looked and is familiar with that property, so we thought it would be more cost effective and hopefully quicker to get it back. As you know, that all these industries have a long lead time, but I think we'll have this back in mid-October so that we can meet all our required deadlines in our agreement.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Cockrell. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens,
No.
Commissioner Jones.
no, I don't.
All right, I don't either. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the Scheit and Company Inc. appraisal for Fullerton Pike property signify by saying aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of supplemental agreement for parcel number 25, Fullerton Pike Phase 3 project. Fund name Fullerton Pike Phase 3, fund number 8169 in an amount of $70,663.75.
Second,
We have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Ridge.
Good morning. This is for right-of-way acquisition for our Fullerton Pike Phase 3 project. This agreement includes the replacement of an existing water well, water quality testing and remediation if necessary, tree removal and a repair of a mailbox. The existing well and the tree are within the construction limits of the project, and the total acquisition, again, is $70,663.75.
Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens.
Is this a not to exceed amount?
Yeah, this would be the agreed upon amount. It would not exceed this amount.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones.
yeah, it's good to see Fullerton Pike again. It's been a long time.
These are, we had 18 parcels, I believe, to acquire. These are the last ones.
Very good.
I would, this all makes sense. The well, I'm not sure about, but that's the property owner's decision, but it would be really great to replace the tree with a couple of new ones if we can.
Okay.
So if that can be done, please do it. I would appreciate it, and I'm sure they would as well. Any public comment on this item? Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving a supplemental agreement for parcel number 25, Fullerton Pike Phase 3 project signify by saying aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of supplemental agreement for parcels number 2 and 3, Fullerton Pike Phase 3 project. Fund name Fullerton Pike Phase 3, fund number 8169 in an amount of $65,480.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge.
Again, these parcel 2 and 3, these are for the right-of-way acquisition for Fullerton Pike Phase 3. The agreement includes water quality testing before and after the project, any remediation if it's necessary, repair, replace of mailboxes and driveway entrance.
And that's for 2 properties owned by the same people.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you so much. The motion will need to be amended to include authorization for me as president of the board to sign the agreements. So I'm going to go ahead and make that amendment.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any public comment on amending the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving amending this motion on the supplemental agreement for parcels 2 and 3 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, now, Commissioner Githens, do you have any comments or questions?
No.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
See if there's any public comment on this amended motion. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium in Matthew Hill. Okay, seeing none, we'll come back to the board. All those in favor of approving the amended motion, a supplemental agreement for parcels 2 and 3 Fullerton Pike Phase 3 project, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item, please.
Move approval of Beam, Longest, and Neff supplemental agreement. Number 2, fund name Curry Pike / Woodyard Road / Smith Pike, fund number 8164, in an amount of $20,300.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Ridge.
This supplemental agreement is for the utility coordination services for the Curry Pike, Smith Pike, Woodyard Road intersection improvement. We use this to keep the project moving and having utility coordination throughout the project.
Great, thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
I just hope the utilities don't slow things down like they have on other projects. Yes.
Actually, it worked out really well. We are ahead of schedule. Actually, it was to, right now we're looking at the week of October 3rd to possibly open and finish that project. They have technically until the end of October. So we hope one more month and that'll all be open. So it worked out really well to take on some of the extra utility coordination to keep a project moving.
That'll improve safety out there tremendously. So that's great.
It is a great project. Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I think it'll be a big relief to people who use that complicated intersection very often.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you for bringing this forward as well. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agreement with Beam, Longest, and Neff, this is supplemental agreement number 2, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of Strausser Construction Change Order Number 2, fund name ARPA Brine System, fund number 8950, in an amount of $1,010.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge.
So this is for change order number 2. The work is for additional wiring and the breaker for the pump that was not shown on the original electrical plans. The additional cost is being taken from the contingency fund, so it will not add additional cost to the project.
That's good news. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
I'm glad that this is moving forward.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
And this will be operational
Absolutely.
for this winter?
Absolutely. We have them
Wow.
rescheduled to come back. We did do a kind of a preliminary training on the system. I encourage anybody to come out and take a look at the system. Pretty impressive. But then we have scheduled to do a full training the first week of October, and that's once we have the tanks filled with the brine.
Excellent. Oh, that's really good news. This will be a safer winter. Maybe this will be our insurance policy. We won't get much snow.
Well, also, it'll be less costly if there's snow.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the change order number 2 with Strausser Construction signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of NDOT Amendment Number 2, Bicentennial Pathway Project, fund name Cumulative Capital, fund number 1138, in an amount of $348,102.79.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge.
Sorry for all these items. So we have the Bicentennial Pathway Project, been going on quite some time. We had done a route modification. So we had looked at our files and we had exhausted pretty much all of our preliminary engineering and right-of-way funds for the project. So we reached out to NDOT and they are adding the additional federal funds to the two phases of the projects as listed. Preliminary engineering is increased by $201,055, and right-of-way acquisition is increased by $147,047.79.
Thank you so much. Comments, questions? Commissioner Githens.
I was going to ask if the increased amount for right-of-way acquisition is due to how much land and home prices have been increasing in this area.
Probably over the last year, we finished the right-of-way acquisition. There's some things that we have to go back through negotiations that can increase for right-of-way acquisition. So it could be those items that additional, say like for Fullerton Pike, the additional well information. So we work with each property owner and it could exceed what we anticipated.
Commissioner Jones.
No, I don't.
I don't want you to ever apologize for bringing items to us, but this gives you an idea, and the public an idea of the span of your work and how many projects you juggle at one time and successfully and very ably. So thank you for all your hard work. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving NDOT amendment number 2 on the Bicentennial Pathway Project signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of Clark Dietz Inc. Professional Services Agreement, Fund Number, Cumulative Bridge. I'm sorry, that was fund name, Cumulative Bridge, Fund Number 1135, in an amount of $219,960.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge, please tell us about this.
So this agreement is for the design and right-of-way services and construction inspection services for that road bridge number 79 replacement. The bridge is slated to be replaced in 2024 construction season.
All right, thank you so much. Comments, questions? Commissioner Githens.
It's always amazing to me how far out Ms. Ridge has to plan things.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
No questions from me. Thank you for working on this. I know this is one that we talked about earlier. Any public comment on this item? Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium in the Net Uville room. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the agreement with Clark Dietz Inc. for professional services signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of ordinance 2022-30, vacating Tower Ridge Road.
We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Ms. Ridge.
So previously, we had set up the project for Hunters Creek Road to be reconstructed over the past few years. And we are coming up to the final phase of completion for that project. When federal funds were allocated to this project, it was also in discussion that Monroe County would vacate Tower Bridge Road to the Hoosier National Forest. So at this time, we are requesting to vacate that road to the Forest Service. At this time, it is our understanding that it will become a forestry service road, but also remain open to the public. And we have Dave Schilling here to talk about it. I was thinking it might be the Forest Service, so.
Excellent. Mr. Schilling, good morning.
Good morning and thank you. I just wanted to go over some of the legal requirements for the road vacation process. When the commissioners receive an application, it has to be advertised in the newspaper at least 10 days ahead of the hearing, and certified mail needs to be sent out at least 10 days ahead of the hearing. And I want to put it on the record that this hearing was advertised on August 19th this year, so more than 10 days, and the certified mail mailings to the interested parties were sent out on August 17th. And there are two interested parties, the Millicks and the Craycrafts. And we have not received the green cards back yet, but Stephanie got on the delivery confirmation and noted that they were both delivered. And just as Lisa said, this is vacating it. This petition is requesting the vacation of a public road as far as the county is concerned. But the Forest Service, it's my understanding, under their current forest plan, has to keep this road open. If they change that, there's a process that they go through, and anybody that uses that road for access will have a chance at that time to protect any interest they may have. So
And would we be notified if that happened as well?
I don't know. I
Okay.
would be surprised, but it's possible.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, so let's open this up for public comment and see if there are any remonstrances to this action vacating Tower Ridge Road. Give it a little extra time on Zoom. Anyone in the public here in the Nat U Hill room? Don't see any. Does somebody from the Forest Service wish to offer comment?
Morning, I'm Chris Thornton. I'm the district ranger on the Hoosier National Forest. And yeah, thanks for your willingness to work with us on this road. And just to reiterate, our forest plan right now says the road will remain open. So we'll be working to maintain it, and it would take a public process to change that.
Okay, great. Thank you for that information. Thank you for being here as well. All right, is there any other public comment or any remonstrances on this item? Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium. Okay. So seeing none, we can move forward with a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2022-30 to vacate Tower Ridge Road signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. All right, next item, please.
Move approval of ordinance 2022-27 to amend ZOA Chapter 801 definitions.
We have a motion. And we have a second?
Second, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we have a motion and a second, and we have Ms. Nestor Jelen joining us.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. Just going to share my screen quickly. So the first item for your review is ordinance 2022-27. This is chapter 801 amendments to definitions. So I'm just going to go through the different definition changes that we have in the ordinance for you to review. So the first is the certified site plan, and the definition that's being proposed is in coordination with changes made to chapter 815, which requires a certified site plan for commercial development. So it's a design that is certified by an engineer or surveyor that shows the full property boundaries, arrangement of buildings, and all associated infrastructure and open space, and see specific certification and component requirements under chapter 815. The second change is the change in use definition. We are clarifying that under the section B of this definition, that the number of bedrooms for any unit is starting out with the number that is listed on a property report card, which is updated by the auditors and assessors office. So that's something that we can hold a property owner to as a status quo for the property in case there are changes under a building permit. And then we previously or currently have a table that shows how to classify a change in use. We're proposing to get rid of this classes of uses below. It is confusing and it's outdated. It doesn't reference our current ordinance uses under the use table. So instead of utilizing this, we're proposing that any change of use from one use to another use within the use table is constituting a change in use. And that That's what this amendment is doing here. The next change is for plot plans. We have added a definition for both plot plan and plot plan certified. So a plot plan is going to be a scaled design that shows the area where improvements are being proposed or exist, as well as all associated infrastructure, and that they can see component requirements under Chapter 815. And a plot plan, certified is a design that is certified by an engineer or surveyor that shows the area where improvements are being proposed or exist, as well as all associated infrastructure, and they can see certification and component requirements under Chapter 815. The last three changes were to commercial structure, residential structure, and residential accessory structure. So commercial structures, for all of these definitions, we're hoping that people refer back to Chapter 815, the table, in order to classify what type of structure that they're proposing and whether it requires a plot plan, a certified plot plan, or a certified site plan. I'll also note on the agenda, I had listed that there was an additional definition for just site plan in general. I apologize for that mistake. Because all site plans are certified, we don't need a definition for site plan and certified site plan. So we just have one definition, and I've gone over that, that's certified site plan. So I can take any questions.
All right, thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
No?
Commissioner Jones?
No, we've heard all of this before in our work session.
All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium in the Nat U Hill room. Seeing none, we'll come back for a vote. All those in favor of approving ordinance 2022-27 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. And our next item, please.
Move approval of ordinance 2022-28, amend ZOA Chapter 815.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and Ms. Nestor Jelen, tell us all about it, please.
Yes, so this is an amendment to Chapter 815. This was an originally approved ordinance on April 27, 2022 of this year to require certified plot plans for new residential construction on vacant properties. So this is now an amendment to allow for some technical fixes that we found since approving that ordinance. So the changes that we're proposing is to remove the word scaled in front of plot plan, to remove the boundary survey requirement based on lot size alone, and also to remove architect as a profession that can certify plot plans. So I'll start with the change for getting rid of the word scaled. And instead of using any terminology referencing scale drawing, we're putting plot plan so that it complies with the definition under 801. It just provides a little bit of a cleaner copy here. And then we've also removed architect under a type of professional that can certify these plot plans or site plans. And I'll come back to that in a second. And then we're also removing that certain lot sizes require boundary surveys based on size alone. So just to go into a little bit of detail about those last two changes, we're removing architects because architects are not able to certify lot boundaries. And also we're keeping in engineers. We realize that engineers cannot certify lot boundaries, but they're typically within the same company as a surveyor. Aside from lot boundaries, we also are focused on seeing proposed grades, and at times we may require elevation certificates, which only an engineer can certify. So either engineers and surveyors together, we think that those two professionals are able to comply with the requirements under plot plans, certified plot plans, and certified site plans. And then removing boundary survey based on acreage alone, that's something that we've learned through the process of this amended ordinance being in practice. When we reached out to the surveying community, they said that they would not certify plans in which the site doesn't meet ordinance standards. So they will recommend a survey of the boundaries, no matter the lot size, if they're unsure that it can meet for example, setbacks or delineations of floodplains or karst features, they will recommend that they see a boundary get certified or another certification process so that they're able to put their stamp on it confidently. So we're recommending that that be removed. And I can take any questions.
All right, thank you so much. Comments, questions, Commissioner Gittens?
No, it's very detailed though.
Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
I don't either. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. Either raise your hand on the Zoom screen or come to the podium in the Nat U Hill room. Seeing none, we'll come back for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 2022-28 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much. We appreciate the detailed explanation. Very clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we do have some appointments. We'll just do them all at one go if we could.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'd like to move that we appoint the following individuals to different boards. The first is an appointment of Deborah Fletcher to our emergency management. Wow, why am I blanking on this? And continuity director for IU. She'll be replacing Ken Long on EMAC. This will be a remainder of a 2-year term that ends December 31st, 2022. And also appointing Lori Kelly to the EMAC board. She will be replacing Ms. Cottle because Ms. Cottle has retired. That term also will end December 31st, 2022. Oh, there's another one here that I didn't see. Yeah. Okay, so we'll have 5 altogether. Appointment of Dr. Chris Finley to the Community Corrections Advisory Board to serve out the remainder of Dr. Mobley's MCCSC term this year specifically. Then appointment of Kamala Brown Sparks to the Substance Use Disorder Awareness Commission. Her term will end January 1st of 2024. And appointment of Jeff Morris to the Plan Commission with his term ending January 1st of 2023.
We have a motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We appreciate everyone's willingness to serve our community and thank you in advance. All those in favor of approving these appointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Welcome to everyone. Okay, just a few quick announcements. We have a survey online, which will be on for 29 more days. It is the state and local fiscal recovery funds, the mouthful of slurfer, this is actually what we know as ARPA funding. And so these are all of the potential projects that the teams of council and commissioners have winnowed everything down to. And we would love to see what you all think about them. And you can rank them on this survey by dollar amount. So you can really show you support something more than something else. And so please go to co.monroe.in.us. You will see it on the news flash for August 15th. But we'll figure out a way to make sure that that stays up and active on the homepage so people can find it. And we encourage everyone to take a look at those projects and let us know what you think. We're also hoping to have a joint meeting with the county council to hear from the public that way as well. So you'll have other opportunities to chime in. So please fill out that survey. Let us know. There's also a QR code to fill out as well, which is nice. All right, reminder that COVID tests for take-home use are still available at 119 West 7th Street, which is our health department, 8 to 4, Monday through Friday. We have 2 blood drives coming up soon, Tuesday, September 6th, 1 to 6, and Friday, September 9th, 10 to 3. Both of these are at Ivy Tech. Go to redcross.org to make an appointment. And a reminder for everyone to please join us for office hours. We love to hear from you. There are 6 different office hours set each month. You can join as a group or individually to speak with one of us, you can go to co.monroe.in.us, take a look at the calendar, and you will see what we have available 6 different times each month. And just a final reminder that Paint the Town Purple to celebrate Recovery Month is going to be held here at the courthouse lawn, 5 to 7 on Friday. Thank you for that. Anything else for the good of the order?
I'd like to let people know that Sam Quinones, author of a book, The Least of Us, True Tales of America and Hope in the Time of Fentanyl and Meth, will be speaking at the Buzzkirk Chumley Theater on September the 13th at 7 o'clock. The tickets are free. You can pick them up at the BCT box office. And the Substance Use Awareness Disorder Commission is one of the co-sponsors of bringing in Mr. Quinones. We had a lunch and learn, virtual lunch and learn with him yesterday. He is very, very well informed about a whole range of topics related to substance use disorders. And so anybody who has any interest in this topic, I urge you to attend. I think it'll be very, very interesting.
Yeah, I learned a great deal. It was eye-opening. It was really good.
Oh, the book is amazing.
Especially as we're talking about community justice reform. It was spot on. It was exactly what we needed to hear. So it was very helpful. Okay, anything else?
No, I just want to emphasize how very helpful this is, and I hope that as many people as possible will participate.
Yeah, good point. All right, so with that, we're going to take a very short recess because we have a work session, regular items, and then we're going to hopefully get those items done, and then we'll break again and come back for a continuation of our work session at noon. So this is going to be our first break of 2. And so it's 11 a.m. now. So is it okay if we come back at 11:05? Yes, excellent, great. So our regular session, our regular meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to TSD. Appreciate you. But we don't need those yet.
Oh, I thought you wanted.
back. And that's for the kind of the hospital area, the former hospital area rezone. We own the building that houses Centerstone. That's a county facility. So they're working with Centerstone. They're going to redo the parking in the area and all that. This is authorizing them to have a rezone request submitted to the City Plan Commission that includes that area. The second one is areas in Steinsville that want to, Steinsville is actually asking to rezone part of their town, and we own a lot in that. I think we own that through tax sales and those kind of things. We don't have any plans for it. We don't have any, real reason to be concerned about it. So they're asking for their ability to submit a rezone request for that area. If you guys are comfortable with that, we'll have the president, Commissioner Thomas, sign off on those and get those to the respective persons.
Any comments, questions?
No, do we need a motion?
Do we need to do a formal vote on these?
I think it would be best in case anybody came and asked.
Two separate motions?
I would just have I would say move the approval of, or authorizing the president to sign off on the City of Bloomington's request for the former hospital site in the area around the Centerstone, and that also authorizing the president to sign off on the rezone of 11 lots in Steinsville.
So moved.
We have a motion? We have a motion and we have a second. Any public comment on these items or any questions from commissioners? It's pretty, okay. I don't see any public comment. All those in favor of approving the motion on the two items, one relating to the land near Centerstone, the other relating to Steinsville, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Now let's see if we have Mr. Myers. Looks like we do. Yay. Thank you so much, TSD. Okay. Good morning.
All right, can you hear me all right? Good morning.
You sure can.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is the Young Trucking Construction Shop rezone from IG to HI, also known as REZ-22-4 or Ordinance 22-25. So I'm going to do a quick summary of this petition site and answer any questions you have. I'll have a full formal presentation slides for the formal session. So this petition site is 8.5 acres. It's in Richland Township at 1238 North Loesch Road. The request is to amend the zoning map from general industrial or IG to heavy industrial HI. And petitioner's intention behind the rezone request is to provide the zoning designation to establish a trucking terminal. The use determination, use 22-4, identified the proposed business activity as a trucking terminal. The petitioner and petitioner's representative appealed that determination. And then the Board of Zoning Appeals heard that appeal and reaffirmed the planning department's determination that trucking terminal was the best fit for the proposed business activity. If the rezone request is approved, the petitioner intends to complete the planning process for establishing the trucking terminal through the commercial site plan requirements of Chapter 815. And there's also special condition 31 as outlined in Chapter 802 for trucking terminal for the proposed commercial use on the site. There's also was a grading permit issued for this site previously before this rezone petition came through. And there's been some communication between planning staff and the petitioner about getting that grading permit amended or getting a new one issued. It turns out that the petitioner had placed some of the grading that they had done on the site within a drainage easement. And there's been some communication between both planning staff and petitioner to get that rectified, potentially through this rezone, as well as the subsequent commercial site plan that would be forthcoming. If the rezone is denied, the petitioner may pursue any of the available permitted uses under the general industrial zoning district, again, subject to any commercial site plan requirements or special conditions that would be associated with a specific use. So the Plan Commission heard this during the August 2nd meeting, and they recommended a positive recommendation with a vote of 6-1 with the following conditions. The petitioner recorded written commitment limiting the uses in the heavy industrial zoning district to exclude the following: central garbage rubbish removal, remote garbage rubbish removal, wastewater treatment facility, water treatment facility, agricultural sale barn, bottled gas storage distribution. And then number 2, petitioner recorded written commitment to preserve the vegetation on the west side of the property. The petitioner and petitioner's representative have supplied a draft commitment. It is included in your packet, basically stating their commitment to limit the uses on the property. Excuse me. And you'll note that the following uses are listed here. They also did, in the end, include rock crushing as being not permitted on this property within this written commitment. They also have a section here regarding vegetation preservation and some details regarding that, basically stating that they want to maintain the rights to selectively remove trees for forest health in accordance with certain forestry management plan, the removal of invasive plants, shrubs, and tree species, removal of dead or fallen trees, and the cutting of underbrush for maintenance paths and access. And then also a detail about the width of the preservation area along the entire western property line of the subject property. So we can come back to the written commitment draft if we want to have any questions regarding it, but I'm going to go ahead and just dive into some more details here. Like I said, they're looking for the heavy industrial district, moving from the general industrial district to accommodate trucking terminal. Trucking terminal is defined as a terminal facility used by highway type property carrying vehicles, which may include truck maintenance facilities. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll through a lot of these items here. It is part of a subdivision, the Curry and Loesch minor subdivision. It is lot number 3, as you can see up here. Petition site. There are other commercial uses in the area. I don't know off the top of my head what their specific uses are, but I can get that information for you and have it ready for the formal session. There is no FEMA floodplain on the property. There are no known karst features on the property. And there is a stormwater detention area that was identified in the northeast corner for the property during the minor subdivision, so that will likely be maintained. And then here are some pictures of the site. You'll note that these pictures here indicate the grading that had occurred before the rezone petition was initiated. And again, a portion of this eastern side of the graded pad area encroaches into a drainage easement. So that will be rectified later on. More pictures here. Comprehensive plan as it designated as Makua employment. And I think that might be all the things I want to mention at this time. Do you have any questions?
Comments and questions, Commissioner Githens?
Yes, I wanted to know about enforcement of the requirement that the petitioner preserve vegetation on the west side of the property. What happens if that isn't done? What happens if they clear cut those trees?
That's a good question. I know that part of the site plan requirements are to have buffer yards and streetscapes. So that is something that we would likely have them replant to at least meet those minimum requirements. I would defer to county legal about breaking a commitment, a written commitment. What happens with that?
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I guess I don't at this time.
All right, well, thank you for bringing this forward. I don't have any questions. I will note that the outline of the written commitments, recorded commitment has changed since the Plan Commission meeting. So it's much longer than it was. When do you all want to hear this? Do you want to hear this next week, or would you like to wait? Preferences?
I don't think I can.
Okay. All right, so I think if you could get some more information on the forestry plan, it sounds like that's what we need to see. Any more information, if possible, from the petitioner on that, I think that would be helpful. But we could see this as soon as next week, which is September 7th on our regular session. If you choose, or if you need to wait, then do so. Okay,
Sounds great.
good. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and appreciate the overview.
Thank you.
Does any other department have anything for the work session? Okay. So if not, then we are going to recess this work session until high noon. And at that point, we will be having a discussion with the members of the city council, the mayor's office, and the county council about sort of just an initial discussion about the convention center status. So with that, we are recessed. Thank you.
Usually these are all way too high.
All right, this is, I'm going to call out of recess the work session for the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. This is an informal discussion on the Convention Center expansion project. We have all three members of the Board of Commissioners here. We have from the County Council, Cheryl Munson and Jeff McKim. We have Mary Catherine Carmichael from the Mayor's Office, and we have Sue Scambolari and Susan Sandberg from the City Council. Thank you all, one and all, for being here today. And we really don't have, it's just an agenda item, but we don't really have an agenda for this part of the meeting. So we just kind of want to open it up and talk through what everyone's thinking, because I don't think we're all on the same page right now, and that's fine, but we should all hear from the various components of city government and county government, and to give us a sense of what folks want to do, what we can do, what we should do, and hopefully, hopefully plan a next step, a meeting or whatever it might be. I appreciate that you're all willing to meet in the public eye, and I think that's a really important thing for us to be doing. So we can start with whoever would like to start.
On that, I'll start it off. How about
Great,
that?
thank you.
I'm Mary Catherine Carmichael, Director of Public Engagement in the Office of the Mayor. Thank you so much for hosting us today. Thank you, Commissioner Thomas, for getting us all pulled together here. Glad to be here. You know, in our brief communications back and forth to get this set up, you said that you'd heard a presentation and so you didn't need another one of those. And I think our time here is so precious, this 30 minutes, that we're not going to do that, but we're ready. We want to do the 2 ears, 1 mouth thing and hear from you guys, get your reaction to the proposal that's kind of been out there now for, I don't know, since at least August 5th or something. I might have been before that, but anyway, so I'm going to leave it there and let my other folks say whatever they want to say as we get started.
Why don't we hear from other city members, city council, please?
Sure, thanks. Obviously, this is a project that is of interest to everybody in the community, and I think we all rightfully have good questions to ask. I think today is an opportunity to actually start to inventory those and articulate those in very clear terms, and find out, okay, what are sticking points, what are questions we have, what is information that was missing, and how do we get it? So I think to actually start putting that down, and Penny and I had a conversation about this in a separate arena, but I think today is that opportunity to start saying, okay, what questions are top of mind? What questions are even further down than that, for that matter? And let's start writing it down and let's start finding out who the sources of answers are. So I think that's an opportunity today. So.
We certainly have the food and beverage tax dollars that are waiting, have been for a time. We know that COVID has slowed us all down and has caused many more challenges for both you as county leaders and us as city leaders. But I think it is clear at this point that there is some community support, quite a bit, for moving ahead. And whatever the barriers are, whatever the obstacles are, I think this is a good opportunity to sit down and talk about them. I think from my perspective, I always prefer to work in collaboration. And so I know there has been a proposal put on the table that kind of allows you to think about the possibilities of turning the control, the reins, if you will, back to the city. But to the extent that we can work together on this, that would be my preference, to be honest. But talking through what has been put on the table, I think is very important. What's your response to it? What are your concerns about it? And how do we move forward in a timely fashion? And I know other matters are on the table too, like the jail, the justice system, that I know is probably
another big issue that you have on your plate. These are two separate conversations, but conversations that I think need to be had sooner rather than later to try to solve the problems and get to some solutions.
Great. County Council?
Jeff McKim and I are the only members of the county council who are still serving that voted to pass the food and beverage tax. Perhaps we have a special interest in that regard, but that's not correct because many members of the county council support expansion of the convention center. And questions certainly will be focused for the council on financial matters because that is the focus of the council's work. Thanks.
And I guess I would just like to say that I've heard a number of different sort of proposals for moving forward. I've heard the city's proposal. I've heard variants of a 501c3, of a CIB. I am, I guess at this point, neutral on the means of governance going forward. I very strongly echo my colleague and other colleagues on the county council that we would like to see the convention center expansion move forward and move forward expeditiously for several reasons. First of all, practically, we have sort of a limited fuse to get any bonds passed before possibly losing access to the funding, but then also just to keep promises to the public that we made when we passed the tax. So I do hope we all move forward, and I'm very interested in hearing the different positions and the differences between these various governance forms.
Which of my colleagues would like to start?
I'm a little bit behind the curve on a few things, just in my own personal life, I'll put it that way. So I may have missed something, but I had asked to have a written proposal from the mayor and not just stuff that we've all heard in the media. And I don't believe I've gotten that. And so I wanted to see things fleshed out in particular. And I guess also, and I'm not trying to mince words here, but Council President Sandberg said that to return the convention center to the city. And I don't believe it was ever in the hands of the city. Sorry, I figured that that's what it was, but I guess that I also am very concerned about why we are not going forward with the CIB that we got really close to agreeing on. What specifically are the reasons for not moving forward with that?
Well, basically, I don't really understand after I think it was a couple years of work that were put in to get us to the CIB. And at this point, apparently we're under pressure to move ahead quickly. It's hard for me to understand why we would just scrap all of that and start all over again. And I think it's pretty definite that it would require a lot of negotiating for us to just turn everything over. And at this time, we are having the convention center appraised so that we'll have a better, and each lot separately that's involved in the expansion. So we'll have a better idea of the value of what we're being asked for.
I do have an issue with, I don't know if we legally can turn over the innkeeper's tax for the maintenance of and paying off the bond for the convention center if it is given over to the city.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a key question. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so I mean, that to me is, what wasn't clear to me as well is is what happens with the sort of marketing arm that innkeeper's tax pays for. Visit Bloomington is a great asset for the entire community, even despite the name. They do help increase tourism for places like Lake Monroe and other parts of the county outside the city. And I would, we already feel like we're in a backseat position on that as of, we're already sort of second fiddle in that effort now. And we'd really like to ensure that we're not, as Monroe County, cut out of that, right? Because that's an important part of the county's tourism, which is important to all of us, I know. So on the specifics of the proposal that was outlined by the chamber, brought to the county council, yeah, there are legal questions for me. And, I don't know how we could receive $1 million from CBC. I don't understand that. So a lot of questions about that, right? So more specificity is needed. And we would need our legal team to look at everything. It's interesting to see, for example, over 20 years, up to 1.9 million, which is anticipated to be received from the opioid litigation process. The city will receive money, the county will receive money. That money is earmarked very specifically for treatment and prevention in specific percentages. And, I think our health department, we'd have to ask them. I'm not going to speak for them, but it seems like our health department may be fine helping to administer that money because the city doesn't have a health department, and it is complicated, and there are reportings and all that, but we're going to have our own money too. So it might be nice to put that money together. I don't really see that as a part of a sale of property or a transfer of property. I think it's its own thing, and it should be brought to the health board, and they may very well be willing to do it. And I hope they are, because I think it will be important to have a coalesced pot of money to help, especially as we continue with community justice reform, to help figure out the treatment side and the prevention side, and making sure that the county money and the city money get together and do the most good as a combined force. But I don't see that as part of anything having to do with the convention center. It's certainly not money for the county to spend at will. I don't want the public to think that that's what it is. One of the other things, we heard at our meeting, and then I watched at the council meeting, that this information was, a little bit more information was provided by Deputy Mayor Griffin. And it is regarding a bus line to Park 48, meaning a West Third bus line. Then it became a limited time, and then it became for a nominal fee. I heard that phrase being bandied about. That doesn't seem like much of an offer, because we can pay for and find a way to create a rural transit line out there if we need to. So I'm not sure how much of a gift that is. I'm going to agree with my colleagues that I'm not clear on what happened with the CIB. When the pandemic hit our community with full fury, as we all know, we were on the verge of completing the Capital Improvement Board agreement. And that took months and months of intense negotiation. Mr. Cockrell was gracious enough to provide us with the timeline of this convention center discussion. And I think that's really a helpful thing to look back on, because that represents a lot of work. It's not just dates on a page. There was a lot of sweat equity in there as well. And after months of intense negotiation, what has changed? Why is the city now opposed to the structure? So I think that's a question that we'd like to pose as well.
And I'm going to say something else, kind of bringing in another piece of the many plates that we're always spinning at one time, because that's what we do in government, in local government, is I'm of the mindset, and I may be the only one here, and I'm speaking for me here, and my colleagues may agree or disagree, but I'm of the mindset that it would be really foolish for us right now to turn over or exchange, transfer, sell. It's a sale. Let's be honest. Property, downtown property, when we're in the middle of our community justice reform effort, that includes the construction of a new jail and a possible justice campus. Now, granted, we have identified property on Fullerton Pike. We are going through the details. We're getting a survey done. We're getting all of the necessary field tests done on the soil. We're trying to get a better grip on what can and cannot be done on that property. We would still, if it's an appropriate lot, we would still have to go through City Plan Commission for a rezone. And what if it doesn't work? And then we've now given away something that we didn't put on the front burner, but may have to be on the front burner, because folks, we have to build a new jail. We are not, this is not an option. And so I think we need to pause, and this is a few months, it's not multiple years. I think we need to pause in the short term here. We can work out other things and talk through other things and figure this out. But in terms of actually cementing an agreement, I would never be comfortable doing that until we knew that we had a property and that we're moving forward that is appropriate, an appropriate space. So we can't, in my mind, sell, transfer, give away, whatever you want to call it, space when we may very well need it. And if we need it, we're going to have to use it. And it's not ideal. This is not what any of us want, to use downtown space, but we may be in a position where that's really our only option. And I think we would be foolish to cement an agreement. Doesn't mean we shouldn't negotiate one. I think we should move forward with the CIB, but I think signing on the dotted line for me is going to be contingent on us getting other property surveyed, rezoned, and ensure that we have an appropriate place to do what we have to do, not what we want to do with the convention center, but what we have to do as a government relating to justice. So my 2 cents. Thanks for listening. So other thoughts now that we've all said our piece to start with?
Thanks. Thank you. That's a lot. It's good. That's why we're here. I'm going to have glasses for this part. Sorry, gang. Okay, so thank you for that. Is very informative, and I really appreciate the feedback. I know my council folks also have been really interested to hear your thoughts on this. So thank you. It's clearly you've put a lot of thought into it, and we appreciate that. Some things I'll be able to respond to right now, and some I may need to get back to you on. I did want to just start with one quick question on the last item that you mentioned, Julie, or Commissioner, sorry, Thomas. We know each other, so it's hard for me to remember the titles. I'm sorry. So on the property south of the existing convention center, I assume that's what you're talking about. Like if the other property doesn't work out, you might have to use the property that you own in that area.
I'm thinking that we don't know what will happen until we get that settled. And we do have property between College and Walnut, south of 3rd, and then south of the convention center as well.
Is that property that was purchased by the innkeeper's tax? Yeah, I don't know. That seems like that.
I know that would be a whole nother legal
could be
issue.
a legal
Absolutely
issue,
it would.
right?
Absolutely it would. But right now, that's an issue.
Sure, I understand. Sure.
In addition to the land in downtown that we've talked about having been purchased by the innkeeper's tax, How did that land measure up against the criteria that you mentioned? You talked about the property south of town being the only one that kind of checked all the boxes. And how does the property downtown, does that check boxes?
It doesn't. It checks some, but not
So
enough.
so it's
Certainly not
not,
enough. It's not ideal. It is not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. But if we have to build a jail, what are we going to do? Right? So, I mean, it's just it's a parachute, right?
and so the question becomes, or one of the questions becomes, how would property be paid for by the innkeeper's tax be repurposed in that way? And is that even possible? So,
Purchased, and we'd have to do a lot. Yep.
And I could ask a question, because this is a question I think we've asked in some of our leadership meetings. Why not the CIB? I mean, we asked that question too, and I think the response, if I recall correctly, was kind of, oh, no, that's just not, but why? That's something I want to know from our own administration, because you've made the very eloquent point that a lot of sweat equity and a lot of work went into that prior to everything getting shut down. And why not start there again and be more collaborative in this city-county approach to the convention center expansion, which I think we can all agree is an important thing. It's just a matter of the sticking points.
I'm happy to address that. So I think that with this proposal, it's a little bit of a departure from what we've been talking about before. And so the time it would take to set up a CIB and the fact that it has taken us, you know, you can see from the timeline, a really long time to get as far as we are. Now we're under the gun. We've got a genuine time crunch, right? So we think that we need to have a setup that is extremely nimble and can act quickly. We want to make sure that we can do what we promised people we would do with our food and beverage dollars. And we also want to be able to prove to the state legislature that we're doing what we said we would do, because that's the rub with them. They want to make sure that, you know, we are in fact using those dollars for what we promised we would use them for. So I think it's a timing crunch. It's also, you know, this is a slightly different proposal. And so we feel strongly that this a 501c3 setup would make more sense. And I think also, frankly, you know, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, and we haven't been able to get this moving fast enough. So I know that it feels uncomfortable to turn a corner on this. I get that. So that's why we need to be sitting here talking, but that's the response to your inquiry.
Thank you. And with respect to that, I heard you say, I believe, that we take a pause, but for short term. So you don't see this taking months as this is taken.
No.
To come to some mutual understanding as to how to move forward on a CIB and get this done in partnership.
Right.
I'm head nods.
Oh,
but
yeah, I agree
in
that,
terms of the
I don't,
nimbleness factor that was just mentioned, can we be nimble at this point in time?
yeah, I wonder why it was characterized as needing to stretch out to reestablish that CIB.
Could you repeat that? I couldn't understand that last sentence. I'm sorry.
That I didn't understand why you're characterizing reconstituting the CIB would take a long time. That would be less nimble than going through this other process.
So I think it's a matter of the appointments, getting those all lined up as much as anything. And also I think there's a legal process for that. With a 501c3, you can start basically doing business pretty much immediately as soon as you file for your 501c3 status.
Well, I'm heartened to hear there's some interest in, you know, picking up where we left off. I think there is as much speculation about, for us, for land, as there is about the legislature's going to do X, Y, Z. We don't, I mean, we know what they tried to do last year, and, you know, but we can't predict, right? We don't know that that's going to happen. And if it did, we would have a really firm deadline. I believe they would say here's your deadline, July 1st, or whatever it is that they would set in that legislation. So I think at that point, if that happened, we can be nimble and make things happen. what I'm asking for is really, I think if we pick up where we left off, talk through the CIB, but for me, you know, the sign off is going to be, hey, do we have a place to do what we have to do for community justice? That's what it's going to take for me, just to make sure that we're not doing something that we would regret in 6 months or a year. Council and
I would like to comment that I believe setting up a CIB would not take a long time. And I believe the arrangement of appointments was nearly agreed upon when we concluded our discussions because of the pandemic. I do know that setting up a 501c3 can be a structure that would be concerning to some people because 501c3s are not necessarily nimble with respect to working between government and public entities for operations and management. And I don't know about how long it would take to set that up, but I do question that it could be nimble and be handled quickly. Whereas the CIB is set out in statute and it's laid out explicitly what needs to be done.
And I guess I'll just make a different comment about the land. I've always been uncomfortable with the idea that land, whether it's transferred to a CIB or to the city or whatever, has to be an all or nothing thing. I mean, I'm going to say for myself, having a jail from the existing convention center north is a non-starter. I would not vote to appropriate $1 to build or operate a jail. So I don't think it's reasonable to hold up the existing area that's been discussed for convention center expansion for the jail. But I do think that the area south, I think, is open to question. I've always been a little bit uncomfortable about conveying all of that land immediately to a CIB or to the convention center effort. Given the direction, it seems that, I mean, so much has happened since that land to the south was acquired. It's been a lot of development since then, a lot of discussion.
Well, really, it's hard for me to find the actual value to the county in the offer that's been made so far. So I think that puts us at a point where there would be a huge amount of negotiating to be done before anything could be considered. And apparently speed is necessary. So I really think that we need to move forward quickly with the CIB, form an equal partnership between the city and the county so we can collaborate in an equal way and create the CIB.
And Commissioner Jones, you said there's a lot of negotiating that needs to be happening. What are the specific points of negotiation that you foresee?
I don't think we can actually say that until we get the appraisal done. But this is a very valuable piece of property. And
is the appraisal being conducted at market rate as though it could just as easily hold student housing?
Yeah.
No, right. Of course.
Actually, what we've discussed more has been affordable housing.
Or affordable housing, or so the interesting question becomes, has the public, our collective public, not already paid for it?
It is innkeepers and
right.
And it belongs to the county. I mean, all of the taxpayers paid for it, but it was put in county hands.
For use for convention center expansion.
Right.
Or expansion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't see why we wouldn't want to be equal partners in moving it forward. The city clearly has a lot of interest in it, a great desire to see it happen. At this time, we own the assets. I think we should develop a collaborative, equal partnership to move forward with this effort.
Just a question. I don't want to take us too far off track, but I want to comment on something I'm not hearing today that I have heard quite a bit in the past. And that's the notion that we don't even know if we need a convention center. You know, post-pandemic, we don't know if conferences are even coming back. We don't know if any of that's actually going to happen. People aren't going to want to gather in person anymore and so forth. I'm not hearing any of that today. So that to me would suggest that we're kind of past that point and we accept the fact that all of the data supports the notion that conferences, there is a demand and there is an opportunity here. Am I reading that correctly?
What I would have to say is that I can believe there is an immediate demand. I don't think, my personal feeling is that that is not going to be a long-term thing. I think that this is something that kind of goes with age, and people who didn't grow up with Zoom and all of that do feel a need to see each other in person and discuss things personally. I think younger people don't see that need at all. So to me, this seems rather like Indiana carefully building a whole lot of canals just before highways were put through. But that's only my opinion. I'm not an expert in this area. I'm not going to try to keep it from happening just because that's what I think.
Okay.
I have no way to say for sure that it would be true.
Right. And as community leaders, the comment was made, well, we can't predict what will happen. No, but I think we have an obligation to do our best to anticipate.
And that's what I've done.
And that takes data. So I'm wondering, is there data? Again, I guess what I'm trying to do is take one issue, if we're agreed on it, off the table. And it sounds like there's still a question about whether or not we.
I do not have problems with this going forward.
Okay.
This is my opinion. To collect data on this would be pretty complex. I'm not exactly sure how we would go through it. And I'm not saying that I think the convention business is going to die in 10 years.
Okay.
I'm talking more long-term than that.
Okay. So if there, I guess I would just extend.
I don't think we need to continue discussing this
Okay.
particular.
And data can go both ways. It could go against an expansion. We don't have that data as I think we all understand. But I also think that expanding the convention center goes against the city's climate change plan because it requires a lot of automobile use to get into Bloomington. And we're wanting to market this as a regional kind of facility. And so, you know, we tear up 7th Street, we tear up 3rd Street, we do all kinds of things. But bringing more vehicles into the city goes against the climate change plan that you've been.
And then
putting
another
out.
devil's advocate argument that I certainly hear from a number of constituents is from the economic development standpoint, what kind of jobs do these bring to the community? Are they low-wage service industry jobs for hoteliers, restaurant workers? Or will this be a boon to the entire area to draw in visitors from outside, spending their money here in Bloomington and being a real driver of improving the economy and improving employment opportunities for people, which is a real serious need. And so that's when I'm out and about and people are saying, why are you in support of the convention center now? What's this going to do to help the economy and raise the wage floor, which is so terribly, you know, lacking here in the area? That's another thing that I hear. So, you know, in addition to, will people come if you build it, if you expand it, will you bring in the tourism that you hope to do? And then how does that trickle up to the economy in a significant way? Or will we be better off, you know, investing in other economic development drivers?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, that's been my concern all along is, you know, oh, 260 jobs, really, what kind of jobs are they? And let's think about where profits go. Because the biggest profits and the biggest economic driver will go to hotels, I would assume, because that's the most expensive thing versus a dinner or a lunch. So you will have hotels doing very well. Now, who owns the hotels? Nobody in Bloomington owns the downtown hotels. They manage them, they don't own them. And you have either franchise or direct ownership of hotels downtown. You have the you do have some privately owned properties, but they do not number nearly as high as the hotels that are owned corporately. Yes, there are franchises, but the same issue can be raised about restaurants. And when you have a situation like we have now, where as a result of the pandemic, we've had sort of this merging of multiple restaurants under a development group. Great, it's locally owned. If we want to provide economic development, we could give them food and beverage money if they're struggling because of the pandemic. We did that with our portion of the food and beverage money. I know the city did loans, we did grants. But that's always been a question for me. 260 jobs, how much money do you spend for 260 jobs? And is there a better way to do that in a way that really builds up Monroe County, Bloomington in a stronger manner in terms of future economic development? Whether it be, do we create some sort of massive recording studio effort so we become the mecca for musicians around the Midwest? I mean, there are other things that could be done. But I know the county council passed what they passed. I had initially voted no on moving forward with the initial study. I know that we can get really optimistic, rosy numbers from anybody at Visit Bloomington and at the convention center. You can read newspaper stories online from across the country. Some of them are saying our convention's business is tanked. Others are saying it's going great. And then there are now a third group emerging that says, what do we do with all these conventions given climate change and we don't have enough water in our city? And we have to be aware of all of these things at one time. So I don't, I am hearing mostly from people who don't think we need to move forward. And then I say to them, but we've got this tax, what do we do? And so I'm not hearing from a lot of folks who are saying, anyone outside of the chamber and the convention business and one restaurant owner, I'm not hearing this rallying cry from the people, except to say, do something or don't do it. And if you don't do it, then let's stop with the food and beverage tax. But just a reminder, the innkeeper's tax is paid by visitors, right? So it's not not a tax on the people who live here unless they bring their friends and family, and then it's a tax on them. But all right.
So, okay, I just listening to all that you just had to say, and certainly I understand your points, and I don't agree with all of them, but I do understand where you're coming from. But I guess I'm wondering, based on those concerns and those doubts, why would you want to continue to take the risk, do the bonding, use up your bonding capacity, all that stuff? Why would you want to continue to have, as you mentioned it, a co-equal partnership? It doesn't even sound like you're really 100% behind the idea. So at the city, we committed 100% of our food and beverage tax to this from the get-go. We're all in, we've been all in. Now, I can't speak for my council members over here, but I can tell you that the administration wants to go ahead with this. I know we're short on time. I'd love an opportunity to address your concerns about jobs. I'd love an opportunity to address your concerns about tourism in general and the impacts on the economy, or not, I'm sorry, not the economy, the environment. So please allow me, if you will, I don't want to take this time for that, but I would love to address those issues. I think one more issue that we have with the CIB would be that the county would control any bonding. And so, you know, there would be a veto power, an implied veto power for anything that the bigger CIB wanted to do. And then Julie, if I could just really briefly address your comments about the legislature. I will tell you that they are writing legislation right now in Indianapolis. And so I do think it's rather urgent. And I would remind you that the likelihood is that the legislation that they write this year would be similar to that was written last year. And that put the absolute hard deadline on our ability to bond, right? So that just blows everything right out of the water.
Yeah,
So,
I hear that.
Yeah.
You haven't seen any of the draft language that says this takes place immediately upon passage and governor's signature.
No, but
Okay.
you know, I like to prepare for the worst and hope for the
Right,
best.
I know, it's fickle, they're fickle. I get
Right,
it.
right.
I hear you. And you know, the thing is that the county council, the commissioners have, and our past colleagues have spent a quarter of a century
Sure.
investing in building up and ensuring the convention center operations. And that's the reason why I would want a CIB, because it is a city county partnership right now, in a sense. It's located in the city. It's managed through a county appointed board and paid for by innkeeper's tax, which is the entire county. And I think that, you know, the one thing I have heard very loudly from constituents so far is that they do not want this handed over to the city. They want us to either stop, or the other thing I'm hearing is, why can't you work together again like you were before? And so I do hear that a lot. And I think it seems like there's some general interest in doing that, minus the issue of timing, right? That the issue of timing with the legislature is the sticking point on that. Is there other sticking point on moving forward with the CIB?
Yes.
Okay.
Mayor Hamilton's made it clear to me that he's not interested in pursuing a CIB model.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Do you know why?
The reasons I offered earlier.
Okay, just because of, well, because of the legislature and
The bonding.
the bonding.
Mhm.
Is it, I wonder if it's easier to bond as a 501c3.
We'd go through our own council.
I don't know that it is. Okay. All right. Okay. Others?
I apologize, and I am going to have to leave in just a moment. I thought this was going to end earlier. I did just want to make one quick comment. I don't want to go, you know, we don't need to go down a rabbit hole about hotels, but because this shouldn't all be about the hoteliers. But a lot of the hotels, local hotels, are locally owned, and it's really important to think that they're not franchises. They may be flagged with a particular brand, but like the Spring Hill Suites is owned by a local property owner, not by Marriott. You know, that's sort of a national platform, not an ownership of the hotel. So I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah,
You know,
But
And to be clear, as I was making my comments about being the devil's advocate from hearing from certain constituents, certainly not probably a majority, I think we've all heard enough from Talisha Kopic and Mike McAfee to justify, I certainly can, the need to make our convention center as good as it can be, as attractive as it can be. It is used, it is well loved, both by the local community and anyone else who comes to visit Bloomington. So I think hopefully, as we resolve this meeting today, we can all come to the common ground that it is something we're interested in. I don't hear from the three of you that you don't want to pursue it. But it's a matter of working through these sticking points and how can we do a better job of collaborating.
And I would agree that I think that the one thing that I really liked the most about the convention center proposal that we had heard earlier was this idea of having these community rooms that would be available to anyone. And I think that component is a must-have, because then there is a sense of ownership in the community. But I also feel like then it really serves the purpose of bringing together not just people from far away to Bloomington, but bringing our community together. And I think there are ways that could be enhanced and really done well. I have questions. I always do. I always ask questions like, what jobs, who gets the money?
Yeah,
Where does
let's
it
talk
go?
about
Is there a
that.
better way to do this? If we're trying to ensure, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
If we're trying to ensure that, the hotels are doing well, is there another way to provide that?
But not to,
support, but-
not to a point of paralysis.
Yes.
Where we're just
Yes,
on
exactly.
hold and we're not moving forward.
Thank you.
because I get the need for expediency.
Thank you. Yeah, oh, I do too.
It looks like we are getting close to wrapping up, and I have an important facet of our earlier discussions that I would like to bring up now, and you led into it, Commissioner Thomas. There was a number of discussions about how our convention center was also our civic center. And we needed our civic center to be able to handle bigger and larger conventions so we could keep it going, because we need that weekday traffic at the convention center and in our hotels. And that this is the strategy for making it work. And I thought the studies that looked at this were very approachable and really made their case. And if you look at the numbers provided by Tilisha Kappa, I think it's something like 70% of the business at the convention center is essentially local, not just for civic activities, but for local businesses too.
Business Expo and all that good stuff, yeah. So that's okay. So how do we want to do this? Should we come back and meet again and talk through some of these questions that we've all raised, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's great. And let me get you some information in writing to address some of these things that I didn't want to take time for in this little period of time. Yeah, and I'd like to meet sooner rather than later. I mean, I'll make it happen. So.
Well, if we wanted to meet in the evening, we could do that. Usually Monday evenings are fairly quiet in the county in terms of our calendar.
We're
or
happy to
we
host
could-
if
or
you'd prefer. We could take turns.
We could
Happy.
again, we could also do another work session daytime, whatever is convenient for everybody. Maybe our office could send out a doodle poll or something to everyone that's here today and get some dates out there and we could pick something. Yeah. Oh, that's right. That is a Monday. Yeah.
It finishes at 6.
Yeah. Right. But it does end at 6, so we could do like a 6:30 or something.
Well, and again, we're
That
happy
way
to
we won't
take a turn
Your
hosting.
schedule either. We don't want to step on your schedule. We don't want to step on the Tuesday schedule. Yeah. 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 So maybe we could put some of those on and see what comes up. No, let's throw some together. Yeah. Yeah. Some evenings, some daytimes.
Again, we're happy to host too. So
That's
we're happy to
excellent.
take a
Yes,
turn.
thank you. Excellent. Appreciate that. Great. Well, I think this was really productive, an opportunity to share ideas. And we would really appreciate seeing something more structured in terms of a proposal as well. Something that has more detail to it versus what we received the Friday.
I can only respond to what you've told me your concerns are today.
Yeah.
So I can take that back as
Oh,
far
no,
as
I
like
mean
super more
the-
detailed. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
yeah. Do we want to still see a detailed proposal, the original proposal, the one that was presented at the county council? Was emailed the Friday before the county council meeting?
Yeah.
That one,
Yeah.
yes. If there's any other detail, is there more detail that can be offered on that? Or is that pretty much
That's it at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
Again, I feel like I need more specific, like, okay, you don't think the 1.9 for the opioid settlement, you don't want that to be part of this. I heard that, right?
Mhm.
I heard that you were concerned about the money following an expanded convention center. Let's see, that's the 1.9. You didn't say anything about the debt, the
Yeah,
around
I
the 2
wasn't,
million.
I wasn't clear about how that could happen or what the benefit, there's really no, the county doesn't benefit from that.
Sure.
Because that's a debt on the convention center being paid by the food and beverage tax.
Right, so it's more of a pass through for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then you said you can do your own bus route, so you're not worried about the Bloomington Transit out to
Well,
Ivy Tech.
It was a proposal that was pretty limited in scope. It said for a few years, and then we heard at a nominal cost. So if there's a cost, what is it? How many years? How often? If it's once a day, that no one's going to use it.
So I can only make a proposal. My council people are very much in charge of the final
Yeah,
decision on that.
absolutely.
So I defer to Susan here.
We
since-
had our budget hearings last night that
Yes.
included public transit. And of course, they have a board.
They
that
do have a board,
also have-
absolutely.
And feasibility studies
Yes,
of their own. So we
exactly.
cannot unilaterally
Yeah.
tell them what to do.
Yeah, and in a way, I feel almost like it's kismet, the way that the BT strategic plan is going to be done in December. And we will hopefully have property picked out and ready to move forward. Like everything is sort of happening at once, I think in a really good way, honestly. So I can appreciate that. I think that all comes together well. And I think, we can be nimble, and I think we should meet soon and talk through some more things and see where everyone's at. Yeah.
And I know you're kind of holding your breath, waiting for your appraisals to come back. And, our position on that is because all of these properties have been paid for with public dollars already. It's not really, we don't look at this as a sale, as a traditional sale, but more of a transfer because again, you wouldn't want to ask the public to pay for something twice. So that's how we're framing this. And
it's innkeeper's tax.
Right.
Yeah.
But and you were the receiver of that, right? I get that. And you voted that tax in, but those are public dollars. Well,
It's
yeah.
it's a
they're
public
meant-
dollar because it's a tax, but it's a tax
Yeah.
on visitors, not on the public.
Right.
Not on local
Yes.
residents.
Right.
local residents. Thank you. Okay. All right, good. So we can talk through that and talk through that some more, and I'm sure council will have some more input on that too. So we'll do a doodle pull out, yeah? And then
Perfect.
we'll send it to you, also send it to the mayor and
Perfect.
and who can come, both of you, maybe next time would be great. So it's
All
good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate everyone's time. This is
Yeah,
a great
thanks very
conversation.
much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so work session is adjourned.